this before, so you'll have to bear with me. We won't be doing any of the close-ups or anything like that. I've got this adjusted to where you can get kind of an overview of what's going on. This is how we're going to roll with it. So the first thing I want to do is get that pan warming up. So what's happening? I hope everybody is joining me. Let's talk about what we're going to cook first. We're going to do pork steak and gravy. Now, I'm talking about something like this. You see the price on that? $6.54. This is a really economical cut of meat. But I like these kind of cuts. They're like poor folk cut. Okay? But they have enough fat. If you look in the meat, there's fat all the way through this. Not as much as a steak, but they're called a pork steak for a reason. And what this does, this kind of meat, I could put this on this pan and do what I'm fixing to do now. And right now we're going to do the short version. Okay, but I could braise this for like 2 hours, 2.5 hours. You could not get it out of the pan whole. It would be that tender that it would be falling apart trying to get it out of the pan. So that's why I love food like this, and I think this food has a richer, darker flavor. A lot of the finer cuts are whiter meat that don't have as, they're leaner and they taste good, but they don't have the character of meat like this. So that's my opinion. But you got to remember, I'm a country boy. I grew up poor, and I'm used to this kind of food. This is good stuff. Most guys that do stuff like grilling and stuff, I tell you, that's a slamming good steak. Okay, so we're gonna set this over here. And yes, I dropped my towel. This is a live video. Okay, so what we're gonna do now, we're gonna cut up our aromatics. And this onion, I'm only gonna use like half of it. So we're gonna set the other half over on the other side, or over on, yeah, this tray here. No escapees. And the way I use a cutting board a lot of times is I will cut on like very end of a board. That's why a lot of times if you have a knife that's shorter and like the knuckle smacks the cutting board, it doesn't bother me because I'm generally off here. Because I use the edge of the board and push everything over into piles where I want them to stay and live until I use them. So it makes a really economical use of the space you have available on a cutting board. This is just a red pepper. I chose it because I like the color. No other reason than that. Well, one other reason that wouldn't have mattered if it had not been, but there wasn't any green peppers. So I hope everybody's doing really well. We're into the late spring, almost summer type of deal now, which I like the weather now. There's all sorts of reasons to like all different, even winter. Winter sometimes can be very, very beautiful, particularly if you have snow, things of that nature. So these are button mushrooms, if I didn't say. And you can cut these up. I cut these up the same size regardless of whether I'm going to cook them for 10 minutes or cook them for 2 hours. But you can cut these according to how long you're going to cook them. If you cook them for a longer time, cook them bigger, that kind of deal. This is going to go on top of rice at some point, so it's not something that I'm really worried about regardless. I'm going to set the garlic up over here. But see, I have all my little soldiers in a row. I think I started the live stream a little bit early, but I said 6:30 or 7. I don't really do a lot of live streaming, that kind of deal. Someone's commenting. Okay, no, that was a friend of mine. It was a message. Anyway, what we're going to do now is I have some soapy water over here. And I just want to clean this off so I can protect the edge of this knife when I lay it over here, so that if anything bumps up against it, the edge of it, or anything like that, it's safe in a sheath and not going to be damaged. And what we're going to do now, that water is really important. If you're cooking outside, you don't have access to a sink, all that stuff, you need to be able to clean your hands. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make the breading for these chops, because we're going to bread them. And what I'm going to do, and I'm just going to do something really simple. I'm going to take some salt, plenty of salt. Remember, the seasoning that you put on this, every last bit of this seasoning is not going on these pork steaks. Okay, so I want to season this heavily, because all of this is not going to be going on there. So this is garlic powder, not garlic salt. Black pepper, this is Southern cooking. This is one of the staples of Southern food, is black pepper. Unless you're in Louisiana, then it's cayenne. But there's a difference. People don't know, but that's all I put: salt, pepper, garlic powder. A lot of people mistake, like if you look here on YouTube, or if you go to the store and buy like Southern foods, what they're doing is they're giving you a Louisiana Southern type food. There's more than that, and there's particularly hot Southern food, and then there's regular Southern food. Louisiana has all the cayenne, all the chili peppers, and all of that kind of thing. They also have more plain or less hot Southern food like this. But when you go in, like a restaurant, you go someplace, half the time when they're talking about Southern food, they're talking about Louisiana, they're thinking Cajun, they're thinking that people, it's kind of like when you go up here in the north, here in Virginia, if you see a restaurant that says authentic Mexican food, it's not, okay? Down in Texas where I used to live, okay, the authentic mom and pop, real Mexican restaurants are nothing like what you see around here. they're concentrating around here on a whole lot of spices and again a lot of heat and stuff like that. Way more heavily seasoned than what you actually see in an authentic Mexican type cuisine. Okay, and they come up with names. Oh, Southwest. No, no, it's different. This is Southern. I'm from Alabama. This is Alabama Southern cooking. This is not Cajun stuff. So anyway, what I'm going to do is I'm going to open these chops up, and I'm going to do something that's probably counterintuitive to a lot of people. But I'm going to put some more salt on these because yes, I have salt in that mix, but I don't trust that to really season that. And so what we're going to do, we're going to take these chops and we're going to put them in this flour. We're going to make darn sure that it gets well seasoned, because what we're doing is, this is another braise. I do a lot of braising. It's a very beautiful way, in my opinion, to cook. It's not a dry method. There's moisture in it. You can go for a short time, you can go for a long time, and it makes a difference in what the dish ends up being. It's good stuff. So I'm probably got way too much heat on this. Yeah, just a little bit, but I think it'll be all right. I'm gonna put that there. I backed the heat off on this quite a bit when I started the heat up, but evidently not enough. Always away from you. Always away. If it's gonna splash, let it splash that way. What I'm going to do, I want to break that up again because that first chop pressed all that flour flat. We don't want that. We want it to cling to the food. I hope I got people off my Facebook page, my family, my church family and stuff like that watching. If you are, shout. But I'm going to put that in there, and then I'm going to raise the heat up just a hair, because that'll cool that pan down. And I want that pan hot. And I'm going to wash my hands again. And get that raw meat off of them. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, I'm going to move this out of the way, and I'll just set it over here because I have flour here. And that flour is so that when I get to the braising portion of this exercise, then I can thicken. And I wish I'd have brought my tongs. Oh, normally this is where I would cut the video and come back. Can't do that here. So we're gonna have to you're just gonna have to bear with me. What I'm gonna do though, I missed something. I want to cut no, you may not. But now I have this flour set aside, like I said, to thicken things. I want to I'm going to cut this green onion up while we're letting that cook. One of these days I'm going to do a video on how to use a chef knife. Look, it's been done to death here on YouTube. I don't do it exactly the way that you'll see pro chefs do. I'm close, but I don't need that kind of precision. What I need out of the technique is to keep my fingers from being cut. And that's all that I'm really worried about. The rest of it doesn't really matter. And I'm going to chop these pieces of garlic up as well, just so they will be stronger in the mix. While we're waiting on that to cook. But yeah, I'll do a video on that at some point. I'm trying to figure out, I've got some videos in the queue that I have not. Okay, now you see that blood? I don't know if you can see. That's telling me that those are probably starting to brown really good. Yeah. We'll put that there. And what I want to do actually, well, yeah, what I want to do, I need someplace to put those pieces of, I need someplace to put the pork steak. When I pull them out of the pan. You can tell I threw this together. I got the idea to do this in a quick hurry because, you know, if you saw my little short live video earlier on the channel, my laptop died on me. The screen on it died. The keyboard doesn't work anymore. I've been running an external keyboard and a external mouse for quite a while on that laptop. It's a fantastic laptop. It's very powerful. It did a really good job on my videos and stuff like that. But, you know, and some people might say, well, that laptop should have lasted you years. A good friend of mine, her and her husband gave me that laptop, and it was a godsend. Literally, I needed it big time. But the thing of it is, I do so many videos. Doing video production is really, really hard on a computer. And it works, that puppy, you know? And the computer just finally, it was like, okay, you know, you beat me to death, we're done. And so, like I said, I have one coming through a friend and subscriber. I want to let that cook some more. Now, we're not cooking these all the way done right now. What we're doing is we're browning them real good. And I want to get me some more fire under there because that pan is cool. But anyway, it will probably not get here till like Wednesday. And I've got to figure out how to transfer my oil files over to my new laptop without a monitor on that. I've been looking around. 2 weeks ago, Salvation Army had like two 19-inch or 17-inch monitor screens with HDMI input, which is what I need, for like $5 a piece. And I said, yeah, I don't really need a monitor. Now I need a monitor. I should have bought them. Now I can't find anything worth a flying flip at a price I can afford. I can't pay $20 for a monitor I'm going to use one time. I can't do it. So what I'm trying to say is that it might be a week before I get some videos up. It's already been, I think my last video was up like 2 or 3 days ago. So I could have 8 or 10 days between. So I figured the best thing I could do is try to do this live video and have something on this channel you guys can watch. And I don't have any clue if the live video has a time limit on how long I can run it. I'm at 20 minutes and 50 seconds of video right now, so I don't have any clue. But yeah, we're cooking. And I'm going to tell you something right now. I know that these videos don't get as many hits as like my honing videos, my razor honing videos, or my sharpening videos, or shaving videos, or any of that. Okay, because this is a new segment. But I have always loved to cook, and I've always wanted to figure out how to do this. Well, that's not the plate I want that on. Anyway, I've always wanted to do this with YouTube. And I'm doing this for the love of it, not in any way because I think I'm going to get a lot of hits. And I hope that I do. I hope this becomes really popular and people enjoy these segments. But at any rate, we're still going to do them regardless because I like it. And honestly, I do what's on this channel because I like doing it. And I just poured my tea in the drink, I just poured my tea in the, I meant you grab the, hey, it's live. Anyway, wonder what that'll taste like. We'll find out. I'm gonna cook that down. Actually, I can't do that. My wife, or my daughter actually has an aversion to, she has a reaction to like artificial sweeteners. So I'm not gonna be able to use this fond on the bottom of this pan. That's okay. She can go into seasonings and stuff like that. So what we're gonna do, there's some fond still available, and it looks like my camera's fogging up. That's all right, ain't nothing I can do about that either. But what we're gonna do now that we've fixed that, we're gonna put some oil in this pan. That is part olive oil and part canola oil, and I can smell the fruitiness of that olive oil. Man, that's good. Anyway, hopefully we still got heat after all that. Yeah. Cooking with gas, that's one of the reasons I like it. We're gonna put our onion in. Do a little bit of salt. A little bit of cracked pepper. We'll let that go for a bit. So yeah. Actually, that's the sun coming from over there. I can see the rays and stuff. That's all right. Outside, this is my kitchen here. You hear my fans? They're singing me a song. I love this, man. I do woodworking and stuff out here. Anybody that watches my woodworking channel knows that. Hand tool wood guy. Get on YouTube if you are interested. All single words. Hand tool wood guy. Okay, but anyway, that's what this is. This is a woodworking bench that I built out here, purposeful for woodworking videos. And I have a shed, like a metal shed, in the in my other shed, in a box. And I meant to put that shed up and use it as like a little shop. Okay, but I can't leave this. I can't leave this. This is absolutely gorgeous. I get the blessings of uh, God's creation. You know, I'm looking right now. I can't show you, but there's a orb spider who's got his web. He's hanging down there looking for something to eat. You know, I got a bee. I just saw him a minute ago. He comes out here every time I cook, and he or she, and runs around here looking at me and, you know, being nosy. I've got the birds singing. There's the squirrels running through the grass. Man, why would I want to go indoors? Just saying. All right. It's starting to kind of get translucent. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to throw my peppers in. You may not get away. And my mushrooms in. Turn that up a little bit more. And because I'm putting mushrooms in here, yeah, I use too much oil, right? Yeah, don't care. The mushrooms will suck every bit of oil that's in that pan, even that oil that I just put in there, they'll go and suck them off the bottom of that pan. If you don't add the oil when you need to, it'll stick and it'll burn. Unless you got a non-stick, and then you're not going to cook on a high heat because the pan can't handle it. Okay? I have a particular style and technique to how I cook things, and most of it is very fast and hot heat. I developed it over years of cooking on the stainless steel like I do. And I'm not saying I developed a technique or anything, but I came to this way of cooking because of that. And I need that heat to cook how I cook. And you need that oil. You're going to see guys all the time, or people all the time complain on my cooking channel and everybody else's cooking channel. If anybody watches this, I ain't nobody. Okay, but you're going to see people go, well, you know, you're using too much oil. You watch a pro chef, okay? He uses a lot more oil than he says he does. That guy will go, oh, a teaspoon of oil, tablespoon of oil, and he's put like 4 in there. Not quite that much, but I mean, cooking is not about all the amounts, okay? That's one of the reasons I've said it before, and one of these days I'll do a video on it, but where I'll walk through a recipe and show you what I'm talking about. But actually I want to put a little, I don't want to put any more salt in there, but I do want to put some more pepper in. One of the reasons, like beginner cooks, or people that have been cooking for a long time, but they kind of feel like their food is lacking, they'll do a recipe and it'll come out, yeah, but it doesn't taste really good. One of the biggest reasons is that people think that when the recipe says, and I lost the mushroom, he escaped, but that's all right. They think when the recipe says a quarter teaspoon of this and a teaspoon and a half of that and a tablespoon of oil and you know, half a cup of this or a quarter cup of that, or that's what you're supposed to do. And so they'll follow the recipe exactly, okay? with all of those seeds, they'll never taste it. Or if they do and it doesn't come, they'll go, ah, that didn't come out right. They don't stop to think, well, look, here's some salt. Here's some black pepper, you know. Here's some garlic powder. If it doesn't taste right, add a little bit to it. Add some of that to it. Season it some more. Recipes were never meant to be followed exactly. Now, if you're doing baking, if you're baking a cake or a pie or something like that, that's not a recipe. I know your grandma says, here's my recipe for such and such pie. But that's not a recipe. Baking is a formula. It's chemistry. And so you can't mess around with the amounts very much and the ingredients very much when you're baking, actually baking. But if you're roasting or baking in an oven, a dish like this, actually cooking, all those amounts are variable. You can use what you want, as much or as little as you want, as long as the dish turns out. Things like this, where we're doing stuff like, what am I saying? And I need to cook this all the way because I'm only going to cook those pork chops in here 10 or 12 minutes, 10 or 15 at the most, because they're going back in the pan in a little bit. The only thing you've got to watch for when you're doing recipes is like if it's a liquid, if it involves a lot of liquid. If I'm, like for instance, what I'm doing now is I'm going to make almost a gravy, something between a gravy and a sauce. I'm calling it a gravy, pork chops and gravy. Or I'm sorry, pork steak with gravy, okay? There's a particular thickness that needs to be, okay? So when I add liquid, I have to be careful to add the right amount of liquid so that it's not way too thin or way too thick. You also have to remember that a lot of recipes, particularly when you're using a roux, because you'll see me add flour to this, quite a bit of flour. Well, there's oil all in this pan. The flour will blend with the oil so that you won't get that raw flour taste in the dish. Okay, it'll cook in that hot oil because it's blended with that hot oil. All right, well, the longer I cook that, the thicker that it's going to be until it reaches the maximum thickness it can do for the amount of flour you have, the amount of flour and oil that you have versus the liquid that you've got. So I might want to adjust. If I come to the end of this and the gravy is too thick, then I'll add a little bit more liquid. And look here, I'm managing my heat a bit too. You want to watch that too. Cooking is about heat management, it's about seasoning, it's about all kinds of things like that. But what I'm saying is, look, if it's too thick, I'll add a little liquid. Now if it's too thin, unless I have a pre-made roux in the refrigerator, because you can do that, there are videos here on YouTube that'll show you how to make roux up ahead of time. Okay, I can't just plop flour in there. You can if you're going to cook it for a long time. Okay, if I'm cooking a dish for a couple of hours and I see that, you know, it's kind of thin, then I can do a slurry of flour and water and put it in the dish, and in an hour it'll cook out and it'll be okay. But if you're doing something like what I'm doing, where that's not going to be in there longer than about, those pork chops will, if they make 15 minutes in this pan, you know, I'll be surprised. Okay. So I can't do that. So if it's too thin, what I'm going to have to do is get something like cornstarch. Cornstarch and water slurry to mix it in, because I don't have to cook that out like I would flour. But that's what recipes are about. They're not the same thing as a, and I need a little bit of oil. They're not the same thing as like baking a cake. They're variable. You can do what you want to with them. I can I can change the ingredients, okay? If I don't want mushrooms, if people don't like mushrooms in there, I can omit them, or I could go get um, a water chestnut or some other kind of vegetable to substitute for the mushroom or in place of the mushroom. It don't even have to be um, like a mushroom. Okay, I could completely change the um, ingredients, the aromatic vegetables, and I could do green bell peppers, onions, and celery. I could all kinds of things. I have any option that I want because this is not a formula; it's a recipe. When you're cooking, it's about the method that you're using. When they write a cookbook, what a lot of times is unspoken is that that person that wrote that recipe out, they believe or suppose that you're a cook. And that you can look at that recipe and understand, okay, that's a braise, that's a sweat, that's, that's a roast, that's a stew, that's whatever, okay? And so they expect you to adjust. They expect the cook to taste and season or re-season as necessary. They expect that you might not have all those ingredients on hand. Maybe you want to substitute. Maybe you've got a bunch of vegetables maybe you've got broccoli, okay? And you want to throw broccoli in there. Why not? Okay, you can do that. And that's the thing people don't understand when they first start. It's something I think also that a lot of times people aren't told when they first start cooking. One of the old advices is, we'll get you a recipe book and start cooking. Well, yeah, okay, I'm going to put quite a bit of flour in here. You can do that. But if you don't understand what it is that you're doing or why you're doing that, the method that you're using, this is a braise. It's a short braise. I'm only going to braise these pork steaks. And now what I did is I threw that flour in this pan. And I'm mixing it in with the oil that's in this pan. That's what I did. And this is called a roux. Okay. Anyway, I don't even remember. Oh, you need to understand why. You need to understand the method to cooking. One of the things that I would say to you, what I'm going to do, I'm going to throw this garlic in now. One of the best books that I ever got, if you want to start talking about books and recipes, there's a 2-volume set. I think it's either The French Cook or The Art of French Cooking. It's Julia Child. If you really, this is chicken stock. If you really want to learn to cook and understand method, it's a big 2-volume set. But if you go through that book and do the things, pick one of the recipes. You don't have to cook everything in that book. But if you pick one of the recipes that's in that book and learn it, and just learn 1 or 2 recipes out of each category that's in, because she breaks it down, okay? Or she broke it down. Oh, we don't have her anymore. More's the pity. But if you learn like a couple of recipes of in each section, you will learn method, cooking method. And I keep saying this is chicken stock. It's chicken broth, but broth stock, there's really, people will say, oh, there's a big difference. Well, no, the difference is that a stock uses a lot more aromatic vegetables and stuff like that. And it uses bones, whole bones and carcasses. But this broth is concentrated just as well. It's chicken broth because there were chicken parts used to make this broth. Yada, yada, yada. And Anyway, so yeah, but I keep calling it broth, and I'm not using broth. I keep calling it stock rather. I'm not using stock, and I'm scrubbing. I'm using broth. I'm scrubbing all the little pieces of. They call this fond. It's all the stuff that sticks in a stainless steel skillet. This is the reason to use stainless steel. So you can make gravies and sauces with that fond in the bottom. What that is the caramelization off of the meats in your food. And there's a sweetness and a richness in that that you won't get from a nonstick pan. And that's why I use it. That's why I love it. But listen, you do you. If you like your nonstick and you're used to cooking with it and you're getting the results that you want, do it. I'm of a mind of whatever it is that makes you want to come into the kitchen and actually cook. So, whatever that is, do that. Now what I'm doing, I don't know if you can see or not, but this is boiling. Okay? I want this to boil a bit because I want it to thicken. I want to see what the thickness is because I put a lot of flour in it. And I want a particular thickness, but I don't want too thick. So, and this is actually looking beautiful. That's what I want. So now what we're going to do, we're going to grab these steaks, or these pork steaks. I'm going to turn that puppy way down. We're going to put these pork steaks in here. We'll put these juices in there too, because why not? Okay. We'll put that plate down there. I'm getting my lid. Actually, let's move that where I can. Yeah. We're going to wait 10, 12 minutes. I don't know what to do now because I didn't think this through. I got to have 10 minutes at least. Now I don't even know what time it is. It's 44 minutes now, this video. So what I want to do is when I get done, I want to put this green onion. That's going to be a garnish. And what I would do, I was planning on, and I may do it if I can yak for a while, if you guys are good with that. Or you can wait and until this thing, I assume YouTube will put it up as a permanent video at some point. I don't know. Do live videos disappear? I don't know. I don't do live videos for reasons like this. Okay. But I was going to put it on this plate. The way that I would have presented it would be to put the pork steak on this plate and ladle the gravy over it and present it to you in that way so that you could see the dish. But in actuality, what I would do is I would take that and I would, because remember, this is home cooking. Okay, this is not fancy restaurant. I'm not Mr. Fancy Chef. This is not you know, a chef teaching you how to cook. And I'm not standing here telling you I'm any authority. I'm a home cook. I'm doing this out of the love of it and hoping that you will come along and love it with me. You know what I'm saying? But also, I'm doing it because um, I, I have another series in my sharpening playlist on kitchen knives, and I'm doing a lot of kitchen knife sharpening there. And these two are going to go together. They're meant to go together, okay? Because what I'm trying to do is people, for whatever reason, whatever it is that you come to the fact that you need to know how to cook, but you don't know how to cook. Whether it's you recently got married, whether it's that you're a bachelor or a bachelorette, if those terms apply anymore, um, but you're single, let's put it that way, and you're tired of eating at McDonald's or paying to go to restaurants, things like that, and you want to learn to cook simple, basic, good tasting food, because that's all that I'm doing. I'm not doing anything fancy. You don't see a whole bunch of seasonings. What did I use? Salt, pepper, and garlic powder. And I used some aromatic vegetables and some garlic. Garlic, in my opinion, that whole garlic is a part of seasoning for me. A lot of people would say that that's an aromatic as well, but the way that I view it, it's a seasoning. But either way, I'm using simple stuff. Okay? I'm not uh, getting really complicated. Listen, I've seen chefs on TV, and listen, chef's not a dirty word, okay? When I was younger, that's what I wanted to do, okay? I just never was able to pursue it. I had circumstances of my life and all of that ended up where, I did not have the ability to do that, okay? But I'm not a chef. I'm just a home cook that loves to cook. Okay? But chef, that's not a dirty word. Okay? These people that have climbed up the culinary ladder, so to speak, whether they came from a culinary school or whether they learned at the knee or the elbow of someone else when they were young, like, well, I think Wolfgang Puck comes to mind, Jacques Pepin, people like that. That I don't think he ever went to culinary school. He started when he was really, really young and just kept on cooking in the kitchen. I think he started in his family's kitchen, but you'd have to look. I admire people like that, okay? And there's some artistry that's involved in that. There really, really is, okay? But a lot of times I see chefs come on and they'll say, well, just simple country cooking, and the guy's got 43 ingredients. you know, he's got things. Look, I'm not, like I said, I'm not knocking anything, but I don't have any use for a leek. Okay, I don't have any use. What is it? I don't have any use for a shallot. Okay, or capers, or okay. That's not my bag. I'm not looking for French food. I'm like and love to cook and to eat the old country foods that my mother raised me on, okay? And the old country foods that I've grown to love as I've learned to cook in a simple fashion through the years. And I've been cooking 25 years, probably more than that, but at least 25. And actually, I've been cooking longer than that because my mom was a single mother. And look, during the week when we went to school, mom always made sure we had a breakfast and stuff like that before she left to go to work. Okay, because she had to work. It was me and my younger sister and her, and she had to feed us and take care of us. That was the deal. Okay. And so when school was in session, she took care of it. But when summer break rolled around, I was 12 and my sister was 9, and mom was working her butt off for nothing, doing everything she could to feed us and clothe us and house us. And I wouldn't get into it, but the sacrifices she made go beyond what I could describe. So that my sister and I had all of those things, the things that we needed. You know, I didn't have the best. You know, I wore the yes, yeah, Kevin, definitely, that's delicious. But you know, I wore the, you know how the Converse shoes. Well, you know the dollar store equivalent of that. They looked like Converse. They were made in the style of Converse, but you bought them at like Dollar General. That's what I wore. Everybody called them fish heads or cat heads. Fish heads was what they called them. Where I wore the not Husky brand jeans, but when I was growing up, I wore the dollar store Husky size jeans. Okay, we didn't have a whole lot. I didn't have the greatest of, clothing brands. I didn't have Reebok shoes or Nike shoes or whatever, but she clothed me and she fed me and she raised me and taught me to be a decent human being, okay? And but in the summertime, I fixed my own breakfast, lunch, and when she got home, then we would have supper. She worked her rear end off in a nursing home as a nursing, not a nurse's aide or a nursing assistant, but I forget what it's called, but it's the one that basically cleans everything up. It's kin to a janitor there, okay? She worked her butt off because I had a dad that was deadbeat and wouldn't, he was always hiding because he would refuse to pay the child support, and if they found him, they put him in jail. Okay, so instead of working and paying the child support, you know, he would hide. So, and there's some kind of critter running around in the woods right now. So, she did what she had to do. But I've been cooking since a little boy. Not spectacularly. I really didn't get serious into cooking until like the late 80s or early 90s, mid 90s. I got gallbladder issues. In other words, my gallbladder swelled up so bad that my doctor said if they hadn't got to me in time, one more stone and it would have blew up in my face, kind of deal, okay? And it was back before, it was when they were first starting the laparoscopic surgeries instead of splitting you open, okay? So I had 6 weeks that I had to recuperate. And while I was recuperating, I found this channel. I don't know if it was brand new, but it was kind of new, called Food Network. There was this guy on there cooking in front of 50 or 100 people going, bam! It was Emeril Lagasse. And I said, check this guy out. This is pretty cool. And I started watching. And he wasn't just entertaining. He was showing you what was happening in the pan and how you should cook. And then I found people like Mario Batali and Sarah Moulton and Bobby Flay and Alton Brown, okay? And there was an Oriental guy, I forget, Ming Tsai, okay? And then shows like Iron Chef and all of that. And Food Network now is a pale shadow of what it used to be. But I got really serious because I was laying there on my back and I didn't have anything else I could do. And I saw these people cooking and they were explaining to me how to cook. And I was like, I can do that. It was the first time I really realized that I could go a little bit further and I could understand and learn the methods of cooking, and then pretty much I could do what I wanted in the kitchen. And so, I mean, that's the deal with that. That's how how I learned, over the years out of necessity because I had to. Listen, if you are new to cooking or if you cook for a long time and your recipes turn out like the recipes I was talking about earlier, where they turn out, they turn out kind of bland. They don't really turn out the way you think they're going to do, the way the picture looks in the cookbook or whatever, okay? You just need to understand techniques and methods that are involved in cooking and things like that, and become a cook and not just someone throwing a bunch of stuff in a pan while they read a recipe. I don't need a recipe. I don't cook with recipes. Now, like I said, I'm going to do a video where I take a recipe and break it down and show you exactly how to cook it. And you don't need that flipping book. You just need to know what method they're using, a general idea of the vegetables, the aromatics, and things like that that they're using, that kind of deal. And you can put that meal together, you can put that dish together, and toss that recipe book, you know, over to the side because you don't need it. So, that is what I am trying to do with this channel is I want people that maybe don't really know how to cook, or people that struggle with cooking. I want you to stop going, man, I can't cook, because you can. It's really, really easy. One of the things, you look at these pro chefs now, and I love them. Some of the stuff that they're doing, even if they do dishes where they've got ingredients in it that I wouldn't want anything to do with, okay, in real life, the artistry and the mastery of what they are doing is just out of this world. That is art. It really is. And cooking is their canvas. It's fantastic, okay? But think about who fed you. It was your grandma and your mother, and maybe your dad or your grandfather, okay? They didn't have a whole bunch of special pots and pans. Most of them didn't. Some of them might have been really good cooks that had real high quality gear. But they didn't even have, like, most of them probably didn't even have something like that. They probably had like an old butcher knife or something of the sort. And they cut everything with that. They didn't use any of the techniques that I use, that professional chefs use in the kitchen to cut things up, stuff like that. But they understood what made good food. They understood what made it taste good. And they built art on a plate that they sat in front of you every day and fed you with. You and I, we might not be able to be professional chefs, but I can cook, and you can cook. You can bring a smile to the people that you love when they sit down at the table and eat your food. Listen, I've got somebody. Who have I got? Check it out. That's the, she's a feral cat. What are you doing? Huh? I'm not going to bother you. She's beautiful. I don't know where she comes from, but I see her every now and then. I'm pretty sure she's feral. There's another cat there that I don't recognize. So, anyway, I had a little visitor. Love that. Okay, I think we've had enough time for this to cook. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this down here. Ow, that hurts. That's why I have this. And I should have grabbed it with that, but I didn't. Okay. Go on, go on. Go on. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to turn that off. We're going to plate this. First thing I'm going to do is throw that in there just because what I do, and I got this off of cooking videos and stuff. I don't know if I'm applying it right. I don't really care. It works for me. There's a lot of times I will put, like that is a spring onion. Go on, I can't have you over here, darling. Go. I will put something fresh and not cooked all the way through. Some kind of aromatic, some kind of usually it's some kind of onion or some kind of herb because it just brings a lightness to. This is a braised dish. There's a darkness to the way this tastes, and that's what makes it taste the way that it does. Okay, but I want to brighten it up a little bit, and so I use something like that. Whatever I've got to hand, if I've got it. If I don't have it, then I don't worry about it. But the thing of it is you could cook this, you could continue to cook this for like a couple of hours, and it would fall apart, literally fall apart. Now, there's some browning or some sticking to the bottom of the pan. I'm not scraping all of that stuff up. I'll clean that at some point, but lovely sauce. And what I will do, just for appearance's sake, not for any other reason, uh, I would not worry about it at all if I was actually, when I actually serve this up tonight, because this is what we'll be eating tonight. I'll throw this over some rice. The chops will go on the side, and this gravy will go in the rice, and it'll be delicious. But just for, and this is not perfectly clean, but pork steak with gravy. This will be delicious. It'll be tender, it'll be moist, it'll it'll be delicious. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you coming along with me. Now, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know if I just push this X over here or what. Yes, that ain't working. So, but listen, I appreciate you coming along. If you stuck with me through this whole thing, God bless you. I love you. Thank you for being a viewer of my channel. And I've got people on this channel that watch me no matter what I do. I can't tell you how much that means to me. So anyway, that's pork chops and gravy. I'm sorry, pork steak with gravy. Bless you. Don't forget to cook.